Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Black Lightning. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's a whole situation with Jennifer wanting to help out Uriah, in the sense that, like, hey, she wants to use, her popularity on her IG as a means of kind of helping out, Garfield. And obviously it works out, in the end, it helps recover, they get donations for the musical program. But to be fair, it complicates things because now the Meta Task Force has been tracking her. And Shakur luckily gives Lightning the heads up. So obviously Jeff ends up warning, Jennifer. But Jennifer, being who she is, she's always very, brash and just kind of does whatever she wants. Never really thinks about the consequences to her actions. Which, obviously, considering this season, you're like, Jeff's kind of a hypocrite in that regard because he's done a lot of stuff I'm sure he regrets. But at the same time, it's like he's an adult to make these mistakes. She's a child, she's a teenager, but it's still the thing of, that you're public enemy number one. You shouldn't have done what you did. But it's like for Jennifer, it's like, well, the fact is I can't really do much as Jennifer or even JJ, the niece of the guy who is accused of embezzling at the school, which even Anissa had to be like, whoa, slow your roll saying all that, throwing that in Dad's face because it's not really Dad's fault, So it is a situation of, obviously, they learn about Ishmael and, everyone needing to, be careful and watch their backs. Gambi gave Anissa a new suit, which is kind of like, hey, at the end, kind of, you finally get an upgrade. Jeff's had his for a little bit. Obviously, Jennifer's had her for... I thought it was actually interesting that she kind of went back to her original suit. But I guess it's like, after Gambi just needed time to, make some modifications. Because I thought, the jacket and everything, that was going to be, her permanent new suit as JJ. But I guess it's like, he just needed time to retrofit her original suit now to kind of fit her because she's taller now and stuff like that. So, but it was really interesting. Anissa's new suit is modified so that basically she doesn't always have to concentrate. It actually remembers what mode she's in, so that even when she has to stop to take her breath, the fact of the matter is she'll still kind of be invulnerable to the same extent. I doubt she'll still maintain her superhuman strength like she does, but at least her body will be protected because Gambi ended up firing those bullets at her and they bounce off. So it's her body, her suit remembers, even when she has to stop to gain her breath. Obviously, in a fight against someone like Ishmael who knows you enough, knowing to basically wait for you to no longer be holding your breath to kind of catch you in your vulnerability, so. Nice upgrade. Too bad it's right there at the end, but still, better late than never type of situation. But it's interesting too because at the same time, all this is going down, you have Painkiller in town. I'm sure still unaware about Jennifer's whole situation, but obviously doing what he can to help the Pierce family. He's meeting up with Tobias's money dude, and the guy knows Khalil. He's I'm sorry what was done to you, and obviously Khalil having to pull because he actually explained something I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if that had come up before. Now the fact is they went out of their way to explain it. Seems obviously this is new for him. Is the fact is that now he has better control over the poisons. So when he poisons someone, he can immediately administer the antidote if he wants to now because he can shift the poisons inside of his body to, obviously his natural poisons because of what the ASA and Tobias did to him. So Khalil was kind of, saying let's not kill the dude, but Painkiller is whatever, he's kind of a terrible dude. I guess it's you're one of Tobias's people, so, I mean, Painkiller in general doesn't care about killing people or not. So, I mean, care about whether or not someone survives. So it's hard to say whether or not it's because this dude's a Tobias guy, one of Tobias's people. That's why he kind of went along with it. Or was it just a thing of, I'm going to kill somebody, someone kills somebody, it just happens to be one of Tobias's people. He's not a good person anyway, so it's probably a thing of, it's kind of a win-win. I get a kill, plus it's a terrible, shitty person, so maybe that's the justification for it. But there's a ledger of Tobias's, money, stuff like that, everything he's using to kind of blackmail, or at least frame Jeff. So, but it's interesting that, But, they set it up last episode that he was going to be in, or at the very least he was going to help. Just didn't think he'd physically come to town. But once again, Tobias is just, closing this chapter in his story is just important to him. It's not just about helping the Pierce family. It's also about closing this chapter in his story as well, because Tobias has played a big role in him being who he is now. Like, you know, so it makes sense for him to kind of be back for this section of the story as well. There's also this interesting conversation, and I've always kind of felt a little about Jennifer having the whole, like, lightning IG and stuff like that, because I was like, that just seems like that's, I don't know. It can be a little, I mean, to be fair, you don't see it too much. Like, the only superhero I know I can think of is, like, Marvel's Spider-Man. I might even reference that before, from the PS4 game. I think Miles has social media as well, but definitely Peter in the PS4 Spider-Man like has a social media, you know. So, but it's not like an active thing that you partake in. It's just more so like it's a background thing in the game. But that's when like a superhero actively being on social media is just kind of an interesting element, and I'm like, I always felt like that's going to be a dangerous thing, especially because I felt like Jennifer was kind of letting it go to her head. Like, I mean, social media naturally gets to a lot of people's heads, especially teenagers. You're a teenage superhero, that's just going to amplify it even more. So Jeff is telling her to deactivate it because it's like, hey, like, the fact of the matter is it can draw too much attention and stuff like that. But Jennifer kept trying to make excuses like, okay, I could just deactivate it for a while. And he's like, fine, because she brings up the argument of there is a lot I can do. I am an inspiration to people as lightning, so my words can reach people on a level maybe they couldn't before, so, and could reach people she couldn't before. So there is that benefit to it, but also like Jeff says, it's like we don't do this for any notoriety or acclaim. Like, it's always just been just trying to do the right thing, you know. So it's all, you know, it's once again, it's just kind of like a dual-edged situation. Sadly, you know, she ends up not listening, and so, you know, ends up keeping it activated, and she thinks she's talking to Uriah, when in actuality it's Lopez, because based on the video she could tell, like, okay, with her body, like, because of Jennifer's body language, well, Lightning's body language in the video, it's like, okay, I figure they could use this to their advantage to draw her out, and it works to their advantage. Because even TC was saying, like, why do you even have to be lightning around a guy that you like, you know? That's the thing of, like, he already likes you as JJ. You don't need to go above and beyond. But part of me wonders, is that supposed to be kind of like a deeper thing of, like, her? I mean, because she's in the process of, like, right, I don't even know who I am, so how can he really like me? I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's just scared because, once again, the last relationship she was in was with Khalil, and so, you know, being this new person of JJ, maybe like that kind of scared her a little, because she like is like, how can someone really like me, know the real me, when I'm not even really able to be myself? I can't be Jennifer anymore, I gotta be JJ. Yeah, she's able to keep a lot of her own personality, but it's like he fell for JJ and not, but then it's like, well, JJ's not real, I'm Jennifer. Like, I think maybe that is the reason why, you know, she doesn't, like, I think it's a thing of, like, she doesn't know how to really process it and really kind of put it into words, but I think maybe that's supposed to be like the justification for it. But the fact of the matter is, Lopez is doing what she's doing, like going above and beyond like this. I think that in itself speaks volumes, once again, of just like how crazy she's going about this, like blaming, you know, Lightning for the mayor's murder, and just like placing everything on, once again, considering like the fact of the matter is the bullet that did it. I guess that still hasn't come up about, because like the way he was making it, he was trying to make it sound like the bullet came from like that he was setting it up so that the bullet that killed the mayor came from like the Freeland PD anyway. But I guess it's like, well, I guess it served its purpose of like screwing over the Pierce family by putting Lightning as like enemy number one. So I guess for him it's like that kind of takes precedence over any other chaosy, especially I guess because, you know, because his platform is more against them as mayor. He's kind of throwing shade at Jeff last episode, so I guess that all kind of works out. But like, because it never really came up like, hey, the bullet was from a, you know, I get, you know, it's just more so like Shakur helping him Jeff out by being like, yeah, like this bullet was never actually fired from a gun and stuff like that. That's as far as they've kind of gone with the bullet angle. I mean, obviously they're tying that into the Red storyline, it's, you know, with Red and everything, but still, it's just, I just thought that was interesting that never circled back in that regard, even though that's what it seemed like Tobias' main purpose for using the tactics like that anyway. But regardless, you had the whole Darius storyline. He was basically investigating that cystic fibrosis, like medicine or whatever for Anissa, and ended up finding out some stuff because of that. He ended up, like, the system ended up finding out, like, oh, it was him. So he's, like, hiding, and he's like, okay, I put a whole bunch of stuff on a thumb drive, come to my house to check it out. And when Anissa shows up there, he's dead. So it's like, because it's hard. I don't know if that's a Tobias thing or whether that's someone else. Not unless that's, well, like, Tobias is connected to Monta Vista, but that might be their own thing. But I'd assume that's Tobias too. So it's like, what shady stuff are they? Because this all connects back to Monta Vista anyway. Because they're the one that supposedly has, like, this treatment and stuff like that. So it might not be the most legal thing or something. So, like, I mean, because we never actually got to find out who actually killed Darius, because we see Anissa about to be run over by someone near the end of the episode, but that's about all we get with that. So I don't know. I mean, especially considering, like, Gambi is already handling Monta Vista mainly on, like, the those energy weapons side of things, which we saw those eat through Jennifer's shield as she was trying to protect herself. So that could have gotten ugly, especially considering those energy weapons can still pierce through their suits, because Gambi hasn't found a foolproof, like, protection for them yet. He's still working on it. At the same time, you know, Jeff goes toe-to-toe with Ishmael. Well, he was able to talk Shakur into giving him, like, hey, give me, like, 20 minutes in an isolated area. I'm going to deal with this dude, you know, because he's coming after metas anyway. Now that everyone knows, like, right, he's working for Destiny and stuff like that. Once again, I'm curious to see what ends up happening on that. We still got a couple episodes, so maybe there could be something that ends up happening with the old Lala thing. I'm curious. I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm curious, considering his circumstances, like, what would that do to Lala? Like, considering his circumstances and him constantly coming back, it plays a role in his powers as a meta. So I'm like, would he automatically die, or would it just be a situation of he just would not come back if Lala, like, were to die now with, like, you know, everything active, the emitter, which we'll get to in a second. I'm just curious, like, what kind of effect that would ultimately end up having on, I'm also curious, like, because it seemed like they're very even kilter. Like, Jeff is kind of getting the upper hand in some of the fight, but obviously Ishmael, like, is very good at going up against metas. Like, I don't know if they probably would never go into it, but I'm curious, like, what other metas had he killed? Like, were there any metas, like, that people would know from the comic books or something like that? Or would it be like, or would it be like metas that it might be a thing of they probably don't want to specify what metas he has killed, just because they're like, yeah, because what if we decide we want to do something with those characters later on in this continuity, and considering everything's on the same Earth now, so it's like anything that happens in Black Lightning affects the other shows, including The Flash. So that might be kind of something, but, you know, maybe that, but I'm sure maybe, like, there's some maybe they're like, I'm just surprised, maybe if you, I don't know if they've ever shown his kill list or whatever. If they had, I wonder, like, who would be on that list. Would it be any known, like, metas from the DC universe, or would it just be ones they made up for the show? The fact is they haven't made a point, or at least I don't remember them making a point of showing any off. Must mean it's just probably, like, nameless metas that don't worry about who he killed, because he's killed, like, 90 at the very least to be where he is to try and get inside of the League of Assassins. But still, it's just kind of interesting to think about. The other element to this is, well, for one, Lynn having that dream about forcing the quote-unquote metahuman cure on her family, which is interesting to actually think about, because I was like, right, like, that was a whole element last season on The Flash. Well, season 5 and season 6 of The Flash was the whole metahuman cure, being able, you know, cure people, you know, who want it. Now it's like, obviously, like, Freeland has her own version of it with Val, with her blood and everything. And I'm curious, like, well, for Lynn, it would solve all of her family's issues, because she would never have to worry about them being in danger. I mean, it kind of makes sense, like, that would be, because Lynn's never been okay with the whole Black Lightning side of things. It's something she's had to become more and more okay with it as the show's going on, but that's always been a thing. She's always just wanted a normal life. I mean, granted, at the very least, all the chaos wouldn't find its way into their life. Her children wouldn't constantly put themselves in danger by being heroes. So you can understand on some level of Lynn wanting that for them. And that was the thing. It's like, you know, she's having this dream, and even talking to her therapist, it's like, subconsciously, it's like, there's some part of you that thinks your family, there's some part of you that's like, oh, I think my family needs to be fixed. But on some subconscious level, there's some part of you that knows that they don't need to be fixed, considering the fact is that you're dreaming this. That's your subconscious being like, they don't need to be fixed, they're fine the way they are. And also saying that in her attempt to help them, she'll end up hurting them in the process, you know. But Lynn's got a lot to deal with this episode because basically the FBI agent that's investigating Jeff comes after her and locks her out of all her research, takes all of it, and she's a little upset with Jeff, and understandably so, because it's like, yes, it's not Jeff's fault, yes, this is all Tobias, but she's paying the price for it. And so looking at Jeff is probably a reminder of just like, because literally for her it's like 26 years of work, everything I've ever worked for gone meaningless, meaning nothing now, because, and it's been something they've explored this season, outside of her research, Lynn doesn't have much other than her family, because for her it's like she's dedicated so much time, she doesn't really have any friends, she doesn't have much of a social life, so like her research is literally all she has. It's like one of her children, so like having that taken away from her, it's attacking who she is as a person. So she's upset about that. She ends up getting arrested later on because Tobias is like, oh, I'm going to take away someone that you love, Lynn, you know, just like you took away the love of my life, my sister. So once again, it's like, it's also like, who are you to talk about like loved ones, considering like, oh, this started because you killed Jeff's dad, because Jeff's dad was like going to expose you for being the criminal that you are. So it's like, once again, it's kind of hypocritical. It's like, oh, my revenge and stuff like that, I'm gonna be top. It's like, you know, because once again, no one likes to think they're the villain of their own story. He's like, I'm the hero of my story. Jeff's the monster that killed my sibling. It's like, you've done a lot of terrible shit. Like, you can't say like karma that come back to bite you in the ass, and someone you cared about ended up suffering the ramification as you continue to try and you've destroyed Jeff's life in the past in many different regards, and you've continued to try and do it in this regard too. So everything he's doing, you know, and you actually feel like very sad, you know, with the way Lynn is being treated. Like, I mean, but I think that's probably supposed to be a commentary on just like, well, it's not just, it's only because it's Lynn, you know. If it was the same treatment will be given to any other nameless woman under those circumstances, but the way she's being treated, just kind of like, yeah, it's like, yeah, there's because of like Markovia and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, we don't have like the resources, so like we're kind of overstaffed with like jail and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm just kind of shut up, strip down, and open your legs. Like, she's just getting treated like less than human, like a slab of meat, you know, and being kind of put through all this, you know. Once again, it's like, it's because it's through the lens of someone we know. But obviously, like, this could happen and probably has happened to other people in general, just kind of being treated like a slab of meat, being treated less than human. I think that's kind of like the point. It's just more visceral because it's someone we know, it being Lynn. And the thing is, this is all happening while the rest of the family has no idea, because they're all dealing with their own things. Because we finally see what the emitter was about, because the whole thing was about getting Lynn to make her device. I guess Tobias is just wanting to get rid of like all the metahumans so like he can kind of reign supreme, because I guess it's like this is the best way to deal with the Pierce family. It's like by keeping this emitter constantly going, it strips every meta in the city of their power. So now he knows like, oh, Black Lightning is powerless, now I can kind of come after them. And I mean, I guess it's also like, I reign supreme, like no one can challenge my power. I get rid of the metahuman menace that isn't just the Pierce family, but metahumans in general for him, because he doesn't want anyone being able to kind of like, you know, I guess Red's just so loyal that it's like, right, you're a meta, like, wouldn't that sit weird with you, like having your powers blocked? Not unless the emitter is set in a way that like they have protection from it. Because I was like, it's like medication and stuff the reason why Tobias is the way he is. It's, you know, it's science, it's not meta stuff. So, but it's like, I would not, unless Red is being protected, not unless there's some tech that Tobias set up that protects Red. But once again, like, everyone's losing their powers at the wrong time. Jeff going up against Ishmael, TC not having his powers, being able to help Jeff find a way out. Anissa's about to get hit. Maybe luckily though, yes, her powers aren't active now, but she had activated them before they disappeared, so maybe it still exists in her suit. So maybe that'll ultimately end up protecting her. But then you also have Jennifer, who was high in the sky, getting away from Lopez, now falling to her death because of everything. So We'll see where all this ends up taking us. I didn't realize like this season, I think it's only going to be 13 episodes. I mean, based on what I've seen on IMDb. So like we only have like the next arc, which is like, I guess going to be a 4-parter, is going to be like the last episodes. There's only 4 episodes left, based on what I saw on IMDb, which is up to 13 episodes. So it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of play out as we enter kind of the end game of it all. Tobias getting what he wants, while once again this Ishmael thing is kind of running rampant, which obviously ties back to Destiny and the Cobra cartel. So which makes you wonder where that's going to go. Maybe nothing. Well, I guess that's going to help him in the long run, because I guess it's just like Tobias having the power he does, he's going to end up crushing not only Pierce's but also the Cobra, so that he's the only game in town. It's like my sister Tori. You dreamed when I couldn't. You were able to dream of like my life and what it could be, even when I didn't know how to dream. But now I'm gonna take the throne. I'm gonna knock Black Lightning off his pedestal, off his throne, and I'm gonna be the one that runs Freeland. So we'll see ultimately where all of this takes us going forward next episode. Especially Jennifer's circumstances. That's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.